Okay, we are live.
Welcome to the technical glitch
Hello!
episode.
Yeah, like we haven't podcasted.
Which I feel like is every 8th episode.
Is that the number?
Every 8 episodes
Probably.
will have a technical glitch before starting up.
Yeah, it's probably just because we haven't podcasted in a couple weeks, and then all my shit is like, you haven't used me, so I no longer function. So, fuck you for, having a life. Yeah, fuck you.
Literally, fuck you.
So, I hope people come back, because there was like 2 viewers in there, but I hope y'all come back. Technical difficulty.
Yeah, no, it was like Kai and Rat, and I told them I was like, I messaged in the Discord that we will be back after some technical difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, so how's everyone doing?
I'm really tired.
Oh.
Like, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good place. I'm just exhausted today. Really tired.
I'm in a weird state. I don't know how to put it. I feel like I'm growing a lot right now. I'm learning a lot of things. I've really been availing myself to the studies of like mysticism and like what directions I need to go in my life to make this a thing. Because like y'all, I am so overdoing labor for a living. Not that there's anything wrong with doing labor. Like I fucking love doing it. But I have a vision. I have a goal. I have a purpose. I can't just keep doing just work for the rest of my fucking life when I have too much that I need to put to pen and to word. So I really want to work on getting a second podcast going that's tied to this one, where it's like more interview based for like other people and shit, and like maybe help with the technical end of stuff too, because like my immediate next step is to buy a PC, right? And I have to learn how to do that anyways. So I feel like if you have a second person helping with the tech end here, it would do a little bit of relief. And if we have a second podcast going at the same time, then you have two that can drill into alternate areas. It's like drilling to get to the core of something, but you're going from both ends. You know what I mean? So you get your tunnel faster. And not that I think that I'm better than like cleaning up garbage and stuff, because I'm certainly not. I am so over having to just constantly keep cleaning up after other people, and that doesn't need to be my entire life. So I'm in a big state of growth and development right now. My life, I can tell right now, in about 5 to 10 years, will look absolutely nothing like my life does right now. It's very similar to like what was going on with the COVID moment. Because like I love film to death. I technically could do this for the rest of my life, but there's too much bullshit in it. There's too much egos. There's too much inconsistency. I have to really get out there to the point where I get enough work. It's just hard. I don't need to struggle like that anymore. You know, I have purpose. I'm gonna move on to greener pastures when the time comes, right? And when I move on to those greener pastures, I will not be changing jobs for basically the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna try and step into my vision, my goal, you know? And I think that, you know, having been doing this podcast with y'all for like 156 episodes, because I think I came in at episode 10.
Roughly, yeah.
is enough fucking experience to say, hey, you know, we're all like good podcasters and we're good at what we do, and we've studied and spoken a lot. Like I'm moving into the actuation phase of my life where I'm like, let's fucking fix this broken mess. Let's teach people some real shit. Let's rail against brainworms and dogmatic trappings, and let's change the world for the better, because it fucking needs to happen, and I'm so sick of just waiting on somebody else to do it.
Yeah, I've kind of been in a sort of like a similar headspace. Like, I'm still holding down the day job and everything, but there is a lot of uncertainty surrounding that. There's like a company merger coming, so it's like, you know, how those things go. And I don't know, I've also gotten a couple other signs. There's also been other signs that I've gotten that like something big is going to happen, there's going to be a big shift, a big change. I think it's related to my career. I've gotten a lot of signs and readings and whisperings about that, like it's something related to my job, my career, vocation, whatever. I don't know if that means the day job or maybe like this is going to take off. Like I'm not really sure what that looks like, but we've kind of really refocused. Like we're working on shop products more, because I realize like with the shop we kind of need like way more products in there to really to make it worth putting any extra funds into advertising the shop, because I can't run a shop with like 6 products. So we've been making some more products, and I think that's just kind of like where my focus has been. Is I cannot envision myself. I guess let me put this into context. On Friday, because of the nature of my job, I sat at my computer at 8:30 in the morning, and I didn't get up until 6:30 in the evening. I didn't eat lunch. I barely used the bathroom. And I barely drank water. Because I was in a high stress, high stakes state for 10 hours. And I can't do that forever. I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack. Like I'm gonna die and also like I'm not moving. I'm just chained to the fucking computer. And that's also like why it's hard for me to sit down and edit a bunch of podcast episodes, because I sit at a computer for 10 fucking hours a day and don't move. And I'm so tired of that. Like I want to be able to sit at the computer for a couple hours, do work there, get up, do a physical task, like a craft or something like that, or run an errand. Like I need a life that is more, that is not this. that's for damn sure. I really don't. The grind, I guess, is really grinding me down. But like I'm not trying to like give into despair regarding it, because I know that something has to give. Like I'm old enough and wise enough to know that something has to give. Something will change. And I keep looking at it this way. I tend to thrive and do well, weird enough, in times of chaos, in times of turmoil, and in times of upheaval. Because like during COVID, I was okay. Like we kind of got through, like I got top surgery, during the height of COVID. I got a new job. Like I fell into this job that I have now. And this job has been very good. Like it's allowed me to, I have a hybrid work from home kind of thing. Like it's allowed me many freedoms, but it has also become my prison all at the same time. And all I wanted was a job that let me work from home, so that way I could simultaneously like work on my podcast stuff or like do some extra little things on the side. But the nature of my job requires me to stare and be active and engaged with that interface the entire time that I'm logged in. And that's not right. That's not human. And the way that our company is structured is we're all like very remote, and it's kind of like you dehumanize the person on the other side of the screen. And I'm support team, and so I'm even more dehumanized. So I am supposed to become a computer for 40 plus hours a week, and I'm very tired of being a computer. Yeah, sorry, that's not very witchy and witchcrafty, but it's really been
it's
been
real though.
Me. It's weighing on me like hard, like so hard.
Like we can't always be witchy, just like we can't always be positive, because aversion to negativity is a fear response, and confronting it is a courageous action. And sometimes it's harder to accept that, So like power to you for speaking that, because we should not be content with our grievances. We should be willing to speak them and have change be brought, So I hope that comes to you.
Yeah, and then it's also like, with everything that's going on here, right? There's a protest every day. There's a protest every weekend. And I'm like, how many protests do I have to go to so that way it shows that like I care about what's going on? Or like I just feel this pressure to like, how many different organizations can I get involved in so that way I can fight this fight? So I can't, so that like, kids later on don't look at me and be like, well, did you just sit on your ass and do nothing the whole time that like fascism was taking over? And I'd be like, well, no, I went to protest and stuff, and they'd be like, ha ha ha, that did nothing, ha ha ha, you know. But like, it's not that it's not doing nothing. Like, change is happening. It's just there's no security. There's no stability.
Mm-hmm.
It's and then like there's infighting within the fucking groups.
Yep.
Like
I was just gonna say that.
yeah.
There's now like more I just was reading from Wild Hunt. There's a organization that does like Norse, heathen, and I guess like seemed like Celtic type like it was like something southeastern things or something. I don't know. It's a festival thing, and two friends of ours that you introduced me to that one protest that we all went to. They they're sort of helping to start this protest of this event because of use and other unsavory things happening from this event staff and stuff. Like it's just like I'm just like God, and then like and then it's like it's kind of everywhere, like it's not I'm used to it in our community, but like in the particularly the pagan occult spaces, I'm used to it, but I don't know. It's frustrating because we're all like we love on the face to be like we all gotta stick together and we gotta tend to our communities and you know um all that fun stuff. But the problem is that when it comes to tending to our communities, um we fight about how to do that, and I'm realizing that it's not like for a while I thought it was just a very American experience, and it's not even that. It's just a human experience where we're conditioned to be you might call it individualistic, but it's just I
self-reliant,
think
I guess. Like self-reliant, like it's like
but I think it's even more than that. I think it's prideful. I think it's everyone wants to help and everyone wants to be a part of it, and I think people feel stupid when, they're just there to bolster the ideas of other people, but they want to have an idea too. And I think a lot of it comes from a good place. I think people just want to be involved. But the thing is, I think that it's just like what Eva was saying at last Pagan Pride Day about how like it's okay that there are like not everyone needs to be a priest or a priestess, right? Like not everyone, like I don't even think that everyone needs to be a cunning person. Like I think you could just practice, you know what I mean? Like I mean a lot of the time even my cunning work involves just taking care of my friends and family. But it's sometimes, even yesterday I was at the Southeast Asian market with a friend of mine, and he had a moment.
I want to go there so bad.
I want to take you there so bad. I want to go there with you because the food is amazing and it's like not expensive at all. I had like I don't want to deviate too much, but I'll tell you. But what you call it? He had an incident where he triggered out and he needed me to hold space. Like he really needed someone there. And sometimes that's the job as well. Sometimes it's just people are really comfortable with you, and you create an atmosphere where people are just really, really they give a lot of themselves to you, and you have to be able to hold that. And that sometimes is the job of a cunning person or a peller. And
not everyone can do that.
I don't think everyone should, and it's not an insult if you can't. It's just that I think people need to be comfortable with sort of being like foot soldiers. You need to be comfortable with being a soldier, and that's an honorable thing. It's honorable to be a soldier. It's honorable to sort of be like, point me in the direction, give me my marching orders, and I'll go do that thing. We all have a role to play, and I think it's important that we kind of fall in line with that and be comfortable and secure in ourselves, confident in ourselves to know that like there's no actual like sure there are books written about it by smart people, but there's no actual like playbook on how to do any of this, right? Like in some way, even those of us who were prepared for like all of those of us who were kind of like, oh, the government, they're shit, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
They've
so
been
wherever you
shit
are here
for a good while too, and like that's the thing
right.
too, is it's not like we're not asking to go back to the way it was. It needs to be
No,
completely
like,
rewritten.
yeah, everyone knows that it can never be the same. Even if they wanted it to be the same, it can
Ain't
never
gonna
be the same.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I was saying was too is like even those of us who kind of knew that this shit was like shit before, you know, it all hit the fan, we were all sort of in some emotional way, maybe not like in a literal way, but in like we were all sort of emotionally blindsided, if not actively blindsided by what's
Yeah.
happening. Um, it's all very it's a lot, you know. People are bogged down, and then, you know, what you were saying earlier, Jay, about like you know, where do I live my life, and when do I go to work, and when do I get involved, and when do I rest, and you know, I think it's like I think resting um is resistance. I think living your life is also resistance. I think refusing to
That's how I
bow,
feel about the
you
shop.
know.
Like I feel like, remember we were talking about this. I was like,
Yeah.
is now the best time, the right time, the ideal time to launch an occult business? And we kind of, you know, we talked it out, and we kind of you know, settled on yes, it is actually the best time to start an occult business. Now, am I going to quit my job and then no, I'm not going
No,
to do that.
that's
You know
not
what
what
I
you do
mean?
with occult businesses.
No.
You don't do that until you have a stone and mortar shop.
Yes,
That's when you.
and once that happens, because once you have a brick and mortar shop, you got to be there full time. Like you got to be involved in, you know, you
Oh,
got to.
it's cleaning shelves. It's
Yeah, it's taking care
that
of a whole
fun.
other house, basically.
It really is, and you
It's
really got
bringing
to.
in stock and putting it on the shelves and balancing your books at the end of the night.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's making sure you're there when the if like, you know, the stock comes in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna wheel it in and prop it right on your floor and be like, okay, here's your stuff, sign this paper, thanks for your money, bye bye, you
Yep.
know, like, and then it's up to you. You go put the rest of it in stock. You put what you need to on the shelves. Yeah, it's a whole.
But I
Mm-hmm.
want that, you know, and it's like I want that. I genuinely want that, but I don't
You
want
will have
that
that.
in addition to working 40 hours a week. You know, like that's just not gonna happen. So
I also realized too that like Sophia, you could be a reader for the shop if that's
Maybe
something you're interested in.
I already
I
have.
could potentially do that.
I already have.
Like, you obviously, you know, you don't have to do it every day or whatever, but huh?
I had this idea in my head. Of course, I always go big. I always dream big, right? You know, that's me. I was like, right,
How you
if
gotta be.
you know, I'm like, and then we open up our Canadian location, you know, out in Toronto.
I think about that too. I think
Yeah.
about it
So
too.
I
I'm trying
actually
to
have
Split my
really
time.
big plans. I actually have really big plans. I've already written out a 5-step plan for what my future goals are.
Mm.
I will tell y'all after the podcast because I like to keep my cards close to the chest, but it
Yeah.
absolutely involves Witches Betwixt as like a center pillar of the future. So I'm just gonna give you a thumbs up and not say much until after the show.
Yeah. And trust me, I don't really want to get into specifics either because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I said this in the podcast or previous. There's like a 9 of spades card in front of my house a couple weeks ago. When like a couple weeks ago, I might have said this on a previous podcast, but yeah, that was like also one of my signs, and there's shit going on, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Life
and
is
just
weird.
so if
I'm all
people
over the
don't
place.
read cartomancy, Nine of Spades is like
Swords.
it's like a Nine of Swords. It's definitely not. It's not something you want when your cartomancer is slinging cards in front of you. And, like,
And I had to say,
and
you
it
know, I
comes
had to
up.
give myself a little bit of a witchy credit there because I saw the card, and my immediate feeling was, you know, I was like, I don't think that's
It was like the worst part is like the day they had invited me over, me and Darian, and I went there, and it was like I felt so bad because before I even hugged them, I got out of the and I looked down. I was like, we got to deal with that.
Yeah. Because like trash just blows everywhere, and it all lands in front of
Mm-hmm.
my house for some reason, and so yeah, a 9 of spades card ended up there, so that was fun.
Meanwhile, a queen of diamonds showed up in front of my aunt's house, who's my mom's neighbor.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that makes sense because she's queen bitch and all she cares about is money.
It'd be funny if there's just like shady witches going around with like decks of cards, looking at people's houses like, you get a 9 of spades, you know?
It might
Don't
be.
teach people how to do magic with playing cards.
Look,
But
if they haven't clued into it yet, then like I don't know what to say. Anytime I see a card when I'm walking on the street, I take a photo of that fucker and I look it up if I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
No, a lot of people don't know how useful. I try to tell people all the time. I'm like, I was like, the witchiest deck you could read is a bicycle deck. Tarot are great, don't get me wrong, but like that bicycle deck is old school and it is packed full of all sorts of.
I'll tell you this. The card that I used to keep behind my phone in my case until I was told in a vision to give it up specifically was a golden king of hearts, the Kingslayer card, the sword in the head, the Suicide King. Yeah, if you know, you know. And now I have a 4-leaf clover that's pressed in the back because that's far greater in its luck.
I keep asking the spirits. I'm like, I want a 4-leaf clover, please.
Can I tell you the secrets? I'll tell you all the secrets on the air right now. I'll tell you how to do it. Yeah. They're actually in front of you all the time, but they're naked. They're invisible to the naked eye for a long period. You have to really put in time and dedication to do it. You should give an offering to the patch of clover before you even start looking, like maybe a little bit of water or like tobacco, or like maybe it's got to be non-harmful to the plants and the environment, right? Yeah. So maybe you sing it a song, you know, and then look devoutly and do not pressure yourself for time. Sometimes it takes me an hour. Sometimes it takes me 2 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes. I've found like 8 within the span of 30 minutes if I'm being really patient and I don't feel like I have to go anywhere. And look over multiple patches. Give one patch a break. Go check another. And just keep looking. And then like when I found my first one yesterday, because I was doing it to find one for a friend's grandma, because she was shocked that I gave him a 4-leaf clover, I literally turned around and looked at it like it was someone looking at me at the back of my head, and I just had a feeling. I don't even know why. I just turned around and looked, and it was right at the center of my vision. And it was like, whoa! Like it was like, okay, hey, I'm here. You have to really be patient. But they're literally right in front of you, and they will show themselves to you when they trust that you have good intentions. And you also have to be ready to take care of the 4-leaf clover. So my advice, what I like to do is I take a sleeve from playing cards like Magic the Gathering. I'll slide it into that. I'll write the time that I've picked it and the date, and I'll leave it to press between books. Or if you don't want to do the card sleeve, pressing it between books is perfect because the paper will absorb the moisture and draw it out of it, and it'll get really flat and be really pliable and not crumble like if you let it just dry naturally. So press your clovers when you get them, treat them with respect, and keep them in a safe place, and you'll absolutely just start finding more right after you find your first one.
Yeah.
And also don't hang on to too many yourself. Give them as gifts. Like I've picked, I'm not joking, at least 50 4-leaf clovers in my life. I've kept maybe 3 for myself, maybe 4.
It's similar with similar, and it's funny because I just know that through instinct. With like hagstones and stuff like that, when you're gifted, like when the spirits gift you one, right? I mean, I think it's okay to buy one, but I think I think it loses some potency when you buy it.
Yeah.
And that's as somebody who wears a bought hagstone. But I have never put myself in a situation where I can actually find a proper like hagstone. But I know where
they're excruciatingly hard to find.
I know, but I know where I can find one. I just haven't been able to get there, mostly because Darian's afraid for me to like go around. It's near a cemetery. It goes to a really old Victorian cemetery. Called Mount Moriah, and there's this beautiful river. It's really a river that runs through it. It's very rocky.
Wouldn't that just make the hagstone stronger, though?
Oh, it would. It's the area that Darian gets nervous. The area is not the nicest, muggings and such. So Darian gets really nervous. But I'm kind of like, I feel as if I'm doing this for like a protection amulet, I feel as if like,
it's an unfortunate.
I've been in weird situations before where magic keeps me safe.
It's an unfortunate like part of like Philadelphia is like some of our really beautiful high potency magic spaces are in dangerous neighborhoods. And only
I
dangerous
like to call them.
because
I'd
the
like to say
people.
impoverished.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they're only dangerous because people are impoverished, and it's systemic oppression at
Yep.
its fucking most blatant.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, if you're not from that neighborhood, everyone knows,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be hanging out there. So yeah, I get it. But there's
No, I know what you mean.
I might look in Pennypack Creek in our park up here.
I would like to look there too.
Yeah.
I would look. Yeah, I just want. I'll go come with offerings and everything.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I also want to say about like the overall topic of this discussion about work and building a new life and everything. It's funny. I was slinging some cards. This is why you were first like talking about work and sort of being a computer. And the first card that comes up is self-forgiveness. And the card talks about learning to be gentle with one, learning to it's not all necessarily just self-forgiveness, but things that fall under that general category. It's about being gentle with one, sort of be allowing yourself to have your feelings, but maybe sit with that gestation period, right? And this is survival.
Well, if that isn't the two modes that I live in.
Right. Well, it's funny because we talk about this all the survival and doing what one has to, right? And that's what I was saying. It's a form of resistance to live, right? You have to keep going and survive and work
Hold
to
on
build a
1
better
second, Scott.
self.
Slide your computer slightly closer to you. Your mic is slightly cutting out every other word. There you go.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was picking up like some of your words.
I'm sorry.
That's good because I can lip read, so I can
don't
see
be sorry.
you on the video.
No need to be
so
sorry.
It's fine. Yeah.
So the survival card talking about doing what one has to, right? Not being ashamed of doing what one has to do. Then you have this card, the bound card, which I apologize for the flipped screen, but if you see, it's a magician making a demon clean, holding his grimoire and a wand. This card can be about the things that we're bound to, but I think in this context, it's about learning to be in, right? You take control of your demons, right? You take of the difficulties and learning wield your personal power to make things happen, which interestingly leads me into here you see a Sabbath dance called manifestation.
Oh, that word.
I know, it's okay.
I know.
I've
been using that word a lot.
I get it in this context, and I don't mind it in this context. That's what I was saying before. I don't a certain context I don't mind it, but here you have once again this idea of collective sorcery to work towards one single goal, right? This bringing together. You have a bunch of people dancing. It's not just you. It's collaboration. It's I think that there's something to the dance of coven, working together towards one, and or many people, I should say, working towards one. So it's interesting how the cards and I didn't really ask anything. I sort of let the cards just tell me something, and that's just so happens I was doing that while you were talking.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what came up. It's really just almost like giving you permission to do what you have to do, be where you are, move through that with grace, with gentleness, without beating yourself up, and you will be able to bring about the things. But I don't even think it's necessarily just sort of at what we were.
Yeah,
it's
like
just sort of
collective vision.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah,
So if
that
I may, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I was just gonna ask you real quick, Sophia. I missed the beginning of the conversation. The style, the look today. What's the inspiration?
So, I just love this outfit. I put it together about a week ago. I got it at a thrift shop. It's a princess dress that I got for $16.
Beautiful.
The invisible zipper on the back is a pain in the ass, and I need to pay a seamstress to replace it. But when I do, it'll be a perfect fit. And I had this neck ruff that I got from a kink shop doing an off sale because nobody wanted it a long time ago. And I got this birdcage hat from Butterfly in Kensington Market a while ago. And I put it all together for a photo shoot. And it looked so fucking fabulous. And it's a little bit of gender euphoria, dressing like a princess, not gonna lie. So
Yeah.
I just felt like dressing up like a princess today.
Wonderful. I love it.
Yeah. So if I may, the word manifestation has a lot of loaded connotations behind it, and I know a lot of people kind of like deviate away from it because of how much like fraudsters or certain people might have tainted the word. You know, like there's a lot of self-help gurus all saying manifest your reality, right? But also that is a trauma response in the same way that a lot of us don't ever want to talk about the concept of God or divinity simply because of how much we're all traumatized by like Catholicism and Christianity. And it is one of the greatest acts of darkness or evil in the world to try and take revolutionary concepts and make them so benign and spoke of to the point where they elicit disgust. Think about how fucked it is that we don't even want to talk about God, our own inner divinity, our own selfless nature. Like there's so many actual good fucking things in the Bible, but because of how the church is run, because of how dogma is used and how it's used as a weapon to control people, we instinctively are traumatized against things that are actually very helpful for us, which is like contemplation of our own inner divinity and a lot of these like mystery schools, because these books are not meant to be taken fucking literally, right? Like I've read the Bible damn near cover to cover as a Catholic, and it's a not fucking literal book, okay?
Yeah, it's not.
The same thing is with manifestation. And here's a trick. I can give y'all different words, talk about it if you want. Like when we talk about it in occult theory spaces, I'll often call it direct casting because a lot of people will know what I'm talking about with that. You just directly cast it with your thought. And in fact, a lot of really practiced magicians, occultists, and witches will do either what they might call thought casting, just by doing it via focused meditation, or by they'll do visualizations, you know, they'll have all these other words for it, but we're just trying to come up with a word that basically describes I picture it in my head and focus on it for a certain amount of time, then let it go and let it be, and reality shifts in accordance. We can call it direct casting. We can call it manifesting. We can call it the blue fandango if we want to. But it is a fundamental practice of basically every mystery tradition all across the world. And no matter where you are, people have been using states of meditation and focused intent to cause shift in reality since the dawn of fucking human nature. And it is such a poison that the word manifestation has been taken from us out of our common vernacular and conversation
Almost like
by
magic
the
itself.
excessive exposure to it.
So this is why personally for me, this is why I explicitly said context matters in how I treat that word. When an occultist uses that word, I don't mind it because oftentimes the explanation is at least something similar to what Sophia was saying. They might see it a little bit differently, but the functionality remains the same. And that is fine. It is the only time I am critical. So like Matt Warren also uses that word in his work. And I do not mind it because Matt is educated as to understanding it as it is, as a historical, a spiritual practice without like the sort of the intrusion of a lot of new age thought, which has appropriated and misappropriated many different traditions that it even if open, they still misrepresent what it is that we do in occult spaces, and they kind of turn what we do into they compare what we do to something like The Secret, which, as I've said before on the podcast, really is just a gun without a trigger, and that is when I become critical of manifestation, sort of like manifestation with no work, right? This idea that you don't have to put in any effort, and then suddenly it turns into like this prosperity gospel type thing, and it all falls into that nonsense. And that's the only time I am critical, but it is not the word, I guess, that I'm technically critical of. I don't mind the word as long as it's I don't mind anything as long as you know what you mean by what you say. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. And I have a couple caveats to shoot in here in a direct response to that. Manifestation without shadow work is just sticking your head in the sand. You very often in your life will experience the accumulated results of your karma. Let me explain some things on what I mean right now. I am doing a side job where I clean up garbage. I sweep garbage up off the fucking street, right? And I've realized today it's hugely a karmic remission of mine, because why a lot of this garbage is on the street is people will often just dump garbage into dumpsters without garbage bags around them. And I did this for the longest time in my life, not realizing what harm this would cause. But what happens when it's windy and a garbage truck picks it up and it dumps it into its back? A shitload blows away. We might think that, hey, we're saving plastic from a landfill by not putting that garbage in a bag, but you're actually quite literally littering without realizing it. And I've been doing this for years and years and years and years, and it dawned on me, I'm doing karmic remissions and I'm getting paid to do it. That's cool. And I kept doing my job, right? And like, real talk, that's how you learn in life, right? Like, we're allowed to make mistakes, we're allowed to grow from it. But when you run from things that are going to better you, when you refuse to do your shadow work, like literally cleaning up fucking garbage off the street, if that's how it shows up in your life, more often than not, when people say that they're manifesting, air quotes, is actually just the unconscious accumulation of their karmic debt that is either positive or negative based on their attitudes and their worldviews and how they've treated other people. They might actually be a very good person and be doing like a lot of forgiveness, not holding grudges in their hearts. Like, I was reading paraquoting a story from Steffer Yetzira before you hopped in the podcast about how, like, this guy was sleeping on a ledge and a snake was coming up to him, and a branch fell from the tree and killed the snake, and he woke up in astonishment. The ledge crumbled and he fell off but was fine. And a rabbi asked him why God had saved him by a miracle twice and what he had done to be so deserving. And the man said that he forgives anybody who had ever been ill to him, and anybody who had ever caused him ill, he made special a point to forgive directly and to make a special care to be more kind towards that person. And that if he had held a grudge with anybody, he would work to set himself off of that and let that emotion go before he went to rest. Right. And it's shit like that. We aren't, like, never tolerate evil, right? Like, if you see a man doing an evil act in front of you that is truly evil, destroy them. Evil deserves to be destroyed. But for anything less than true and pure evil, forgiveness is divine. We are not here to judge each other, truly. We all don't know what each other are going through. I can't tell you how many times people have judged me for things that I look like or things that they think I am, and they really don't get me right. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to pay attention to any of that, because at the end of the day, we're not here to be the ultimate arbiters of that. But at the same time, there is that caveat: know what evil is and destroy it upon sight. Evil is bringing harm to children. Evil is destroying the tenets of society. Evil is undermining a union and taking away people's right to self-advocate. Evil is rounding people up and putting them into labor camps. Evil is deporting people via ICE or whatever Gestapo name you want to call it. We all know evil when we see it, and we all know what the correct response is, but we have all been dissuaded and had our hands chained by society. It is no good act to ignore evil. It is purely a fear response, and karmic debt will be accrued in that as well. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, there's makes me think of there's in the Havamal, there's like a quote there's a part in there. It's like something like, if you see evil, call it evil, and then
and slay it where it stands,
or something like that. There's many different translations, but it's like, or it's if you see evil, call it evil, and give your enemies no rest, or something like that. Yeah, it's just like, and
truly.
it's kind of always how I've lived my life.
It's irritating, and I mean this in the best way. The thing, when I've talked to Christian people who try to understand, because they have this weird understanding of us, but they see it as very evil. They see us as evil because we're not a turn cheek tradition. You know what I mean? But they misrepresent what that means for us. And if you're listening to either of what you were saying from the Havamal or what Sophia was saying, it is about discernment. It's about having yourself to a point where you can look at something and go, is this a person's bad day, or is this truly evil? Right? True evil is rare. People are rarely truly evil. There are evil people in the world. There are. To use Mortalis, the author of The Bones Fall in the Spiral, book on primer necromancy. When I was taking their class during Sacred Space, they used the statistics of serial killers in America. Truly unempathetic, unfeeling, uncaring, beings who
killers.
truly enjoy harming, murdering other people. That is a true evil. Not the true evil, a true evil. But those people are not in abundance the way you think that they are. We're fed a lot of horribilizing news, and we really love bad news for some reason.
Love it.
The brain really likes bad news. We remember like bad experiences more than we remember good ones. That's just a psychological, neurological thing.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to be able to discern the difference between the asshole who has a little bit of road rage and gives you the finger for something that they did versus, I was watching this horrible video earlier of a restaurant somewhere in the American South about a black woman was essentially told to move her seat for two white men.
What?
And then her drink was forcibly taken from her table and put somewhere else, and she refused to move. That is also an evil. And learning how to respond to these evils responsibly and justly. And I don't think that people fully understand what we mean when we're like, you know what I mean? Like, if you hit me with your fist, I am going to return with a fist, And they don't quite
It's like,
understand.
if you hit me, you will have to pry me off of you because I'm going to beat you within an inch of your life. If you hit me, it will be to the death. Like, I can't promise you it won't, because I will go insane and I will fight you within an inch of your life. Or my life. Like, whichever one of us dies first, that's what's happening. And that's probably why I haven't gotten into a physical fight at this point in my life, because I know me. I would become demonic, wild, crazy, whatever fucking word you want to use, and I will damn near kill you, or myself, or die trying. I don't care.
That's our rage. That's our demons to wrestle with, honestly. I mean, I get it.
That's that Aries rage.
Yeah.
I have a lot of these. Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of unfortunate, very aggressive fantasies about like harming people who harm us, particularly queer people in general. And I wrestle with that a lot in my practice. In and I have to often remind myself that, like, marginalized people in general, but are not looking for revenge. We're equity, right? We're looking to live our lives in a way with, our we're not the topic of conversation and every direction. You know, we want to be people in the world left to live our lives with our own culture and cultures, I should say, because queer culture can change a little bit.
We're losing some of the words you're saying.
Yeah, you keep cutting out. I don't know why. Try and
It's
drop out
auto
of the call.
sensitivity. I could actually tell you how to fix it. Are you looking at our screen right now?
Yeah.
See that little tab at the bottom with the line? Lift it up, and you're gonna get all of these extra stuff that you can look at.
Little tab at the bottom with the line. Oh, the dots.
You're on your phone, right?
No, I'm on my computer.
Are you? Oh, then somebody else will have to walk them through it because I'm on a phone.
I was just gonna say,
You just have to get them to audio settings.
Try to drop out of the call and then jump back in. That might fix it. I always try that first. That might fix some of it.
Let me see.
After call, we can manually walk them through lowering their gain threshold, which is what's going on there.
Yeah, because like normally, honestly, it's fine. Yeah, that's
should be fine.
Okay.
If you want to enable your camera again.
Okay.
I wanted to shift focus and attention to the chat just for a second. So we have Dawn, Sage, Kai, and Brian in the chat.
Hi, everyone.
Love to see you all here. Brian was saying that he's the same way when it comes to rage and fighting, and if you come after me, I'll kill you. So I can't make any promises. Like, I'm not gonna fight for show. I'm not gonna like take my shirt off and be like, look, no, I'm just gonna kill you. I'll just face into curb repeatedly. You die.
So like... I have a really good short quote I kind of want to read on this, on the topic of evil and what is evil. I might have read this before on the show before. It's P53 from the Lore Book of Destiny. Do y'all mind if I do this? It'll maybe take 2 minutes tops.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Let me ask you a question. In the 3 billion base pairs of your root species genome, there's a single gene that codes for a protein called P53. The name is a mistake. The protein weighs only as much as 47,000 protons, not 53,000. If you were a cell, you would think P53 was a mistake as well. It has several coercive functions: to delay the cell's growth, to sterilize the cell when it is old, and to force the cell into self-destruction if it becomes too independent. Would you tolerate a bomb in your body waiting to detonate if you deviated from the needs of society? However, without P53 as an enforcer, the body's utopian surplus of energy becomes a paradise for cancer. Cells cannot resist the temptation to steal from that surplus. Their genetic morality degrades as tumor suppressor genes fail. The only way to stop them is by punishment. You now confront the basic problem of morality. It is the alignment of individual incentives with the global needs of the structure. Patterns will participate in a structure only if participation benefits their ability to go on existing. The more successful the structure grows, the more temptation accrues to cheat, and the greater advantage the cheaters gain over their honest neighbors, and the greater the ability they develop to capture the very laws that should prevent their selfishness. To prevent this, the structure must punish cheaters with a violence that grows in proportion to its own success. My question then follows: is P53 an agent of darkness or the light? I like that because it really puts into scale that often evil doesn't have to be wanting to do evil. Evil is the ideology of a cancer cell. It is being so selfish that you would destroy the system or attempt to gain control over the laws which govern the system. That is also a true and deep evil that is going on rampantly in our society, and it is the deepest evil that we need to confront in our generation. It's the love of power. It's the love of power and control.
It is absolutely evil because these like, he's not even a politician. I'm just gonna say it. He's not even a fucking politician, and y'all know who I'm talking about. 47. I just won't say his name anymore. I just can't. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. He's a Russian plant. He's evil. He's evil. And he was born like this. He was bred like this. He was molded like this. So I guess in a way, I can't blame the guy, right? He has no morality. There is none. So there's no arguing. There's no logic to follow. And it just like at this point, like all I want is just imprisonment forever. I just want him to rot. Like that's all of them too. Like everyone associated with this, everyone who
enabled it.
Everyone. Yeah. I'm talking Democrats and Republicans. All of you deserve to fucking rot.
And business people who like who don't give a fuck about any of it, who just like it was all for the money kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want them,
believe it or not, jail.
Like I'm so glad that Target is just deteriorating. Good. Go out of business fucking faster. And I say this as someone who generally prefers to shop at Target over Walmart, right? Because it's a little bit nicer of a store. The products are a little nicer. But you were chomping at the bit to be like, man, fuck those gays. Fuck them all. Fuck the queers. Fuck the trans people. Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, Trump. You know, let me lick them boots. Suck that dick. No, fuck out of here. Like, I'm so angry. I'm so pissed off at every single company and politician. And they're doing this big, beautiful bullshit bill fucking thing that's going to ruin everything. And the Senate's probably going to fucking pass it because they're all pieces of shit. And Fetterman needs to be, like, publicly stoned at this point, as far as I'm fucking concerned, because he ain't doing his fucking job. Like, I'm so angry, and I don't know how to direct it. I don't know where it's supposed to go. And I just feel like I'm ready to pop off. And what's been pissing me off is a couple of my neighbors are annoying me. Right? And this is where we get back to the discussion of evil or someone's bad day. They're not evil people. I recognize that. 100%. They're just dicks. Yeah.
But I do real quick, Jay. I'm so sorry. I just want to say real quick. Hold on to what you're saying. You are allowed to defend yourself too. Like if people like people like that's still different though. That's not exactly the conversation we're having exactly. Like if someone hits you just because they're being a dick at like a bar, like hit them back. You know what I mean? Okay, go on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, don't ever hit me because I can't promise you what I'll do. That's all. Don't ever hit me because it's a fight to the death instantly. So like they're pissing me off, right? A couple of my neighbors are pissing me off for like no fucking reason too. Like I have no control over whatever the fuck they're mad about. So, but I know that they're not evil. Right, and yet there's like this part of me that just wants to go over and just like ruin their lives, destroy their property, because I'm looking for an outlet for my anger about everything the fuck else, and I'm like, man, you're giving me a good reason, like you're just giving me a good outlet, like an opportunity, and I'm not gonna do it. It's fucked up, like I know that, but I'm tired of being in control all of the time, and all these motherfuckers out here just get to do whatever the fuck they want. They get to do whatever the fuck they want. They can, oh, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that law. I'm just going to deport some people. I'm just going to lock some people up. I'm just going to, pass this law. Oh, we're just going to all be Christian now. I hold Bibles upside down, but we're all Christian. I fucking can't. And then, so then we're all in our marginalized communities, right? And we all can't fucking get aligned. You would think this is the one goddamn time we would get it the fuck together. But we're not. And what was pissing me off too is I remember you saying, Sophia, if all of this shit is too complicated for you, think about it in the terms of fucking Star Wars. Okay? Yeah. So we finished watching Andor, the next season of Andor that leads up to the beginning of Rogue One. I have been furious watching Andor because the senators, some of them, like a good majority of them, were complicit in the whole takeover and everything, right? They got their power, they got their money, they got what they wanted, they bended the knee, whatever. But the ones that did not, do that, they were funding a rebellion on the side. They were funding it. because they were rich, they had money, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of our senators have fucking money, because you can't run for office, generally speaking, if you don't have fucking money behind you. And I don't think there is a single goddamn, like, there is no senators right now that are like, hey guys, let's all work together, let's, try. No, you're just not doing anything. You're just sitting there going, why won't you listen to the courts? Why won't you do it? I'm so furious.
They're afraid.
I'm so furious.
What they are is they're afraid. People don't have a model for revolution.
Are you
because
afraid
no
for your
one's
job?
fired the first shots. No, they're afraid for their lives, for their future, for their children, for everything. Most people I see right now are just utterly paralyzed by fear. The only person who had the courage to fire the first shots was Luigi Mangione.
If he even did.
If he even did. Whoever shot Brian Thompson was the person who fired the first shots. And believe you me, it's not going to go away. This will end in conflict. It's just getting to a simmer point. All it takes is one ICE arrest gone wrong. I saw a video the other day of Proud Boys posing as cops with dollar store badges, trying to arrest someone but not identifying themselves. I'm telling y'all, all it takes is one open shooting incident and an open conflict, and it kicks off. It's always one shot away. And that's the thing to remember, is as frustrating as it is right now, the scales tip. Everything realigns. Nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
Every revolution that ever came that made the world better was preceded by unseen amounts of corruption. You are seeing the fermentation process building pressure inside the vat, and it will have to get released. But at the end, we will have a fine wine. Or we'll have something spoiled. We'll see. But I know we're getting a fine wine.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is as angry as I am, I'm just pissed. I'm rage filled. I'm tired as fuck, but I'm also rage filled. And it's very frustrating to still wear the masks, go to work, do the dance, be the puppet, put on the show. And it's just getting to a point where I don't know. It's like you feel like you're gonna have a mental breakdown, but it's not a mental breakdown. But I'm committed to the fact that there is a better world after this. I'm committed to surviving this bullshit to be a part of that better world, because it's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted a world in which it was reciprocity based, and just. Why do we have to struggle? We have so much technology. We have so much... I don't even want to say money, because money's fucking fake, but we have so much technology.
We all know why we have to struggle, though. It's because a rich ruling class has decided it to be so. That is it. That is all that it has ever been since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
That the rich have decided the poor should suffer so that they should be elevated. That is, when I talk about evil, I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
People who murder... People who commit crimes on most low scales are often doing so because of the effects of the conditions of their birth. But high larceny is the greatest of all evils, and they should not be jailed. They should be executed.
Yeah.
All of them. We have had these people running our planet since the fucking Iron Ages, okay? These same families keep transferring wealth and money, and they've learned that they can hide behind the scenes and pull all the shit. And that's why in Star Wars, you notice how when the rebels came, those same senators, after they changed the world, they still had their same fucking places on Coruscant, and they profited off the war, right?
Yeah.
That's the real narrative we should be paying attention to, right? Who the fuck is this aristocracy that maintains continuation, war to war to war, for generations on our planet, sowing more misery than anything else? Because they are the true heart of darkness. They are the Black Lodge, which has been written about. They are the true evil which must be slain, and which you see in Donald Trump and all of the Antichrist figures that are coming to light right now, is just the tip of the spear or the point of the iceberg that has been fucking floating beneath our surface for all of human history. We have always been steered and controlled by evil people with way more wealth than they ever need, whose only intent is to sow misery so that they may reap benefit. They must be rooted out, they must be destroyed, and we must build a society that is not just resistant to them, but will seek them out continually and destroy them should they try to come again. Evil is that is what I speak of when I talk about evil. I am very seldomly ever talking about someone doing small evil, because there are evil acts that you can do if you're not an evil person, right? If you're driving drunk and recklessly and you kill someone who's innocent, that is an evil act. You're not an evil person, but you sure did some fucking evil, right?
Yeah.
This is what I meant.
It's just how it goes. But if you have more than you ever need and your default is to take away from other people, then I pray to you to just understand one fucking thing, though I know they will not listen to this podcast. Your karmic weight and repercussions for that will be endless. All of those people who are suffering, guess who you get to incarnate into being? I'm pretty sure it's a divine law that if you cause untold suffering onto another person, that you have to live that life as that other person.
Right, divine law.
That's just what my gut tells me.
I like that you said divine law, because there is a divine law. It exists. It's real.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a written
It always
thing?
has.
No, but do we try to express it in
And
language?
it can be. It can be, though. It's been written down so many times. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Cast not the first stone. It's been said in so many other ways. We all come from the same thing. We know evil when we see evil, and we are to destroy it when it is present. But cast not judgment for lesser sins. I know I'm speaking hella fucking biblical in my terms right now, but like, it's always been the same shit, right?
But it's just bizarre now too, because it's like, I don't like that like Christianity is being used as a weapon, right? Well, it always has been, I guess. But they've bastardized their own religion now. And like there's Christian nationalism. So now we're at so now even the Christians have splintered, even more so, you know, and we're all going to be caught in the crossfire of that, which drives me insane. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so rage-filled, I almost can't even form words.
You know what always gets to me, especially knowing after this history class that I just took, knowing that we existed side by side. Like they at one time existed side by side with people who they now wish to like get rid of, who they now call evil. And how that process, very much like what we're seeing today, was a very slow burn. They were very humble beginnings kind of religion, right? Like they didn't have these the big cathedrals and all the gold and
chapels,
stolen artifacts. They had like tiny, like I talked about it before. You could see in, I think it's in Hungary or somewhere over there, a really old chapel that they had, but it was falling apart, and then they restored it, and it was a very old, a very early Christian like chapel, and it was beautiful, and the site was it was so fascinating. Instead of destroying it, there was actually also on the same archaeological site was a shrine to a spirit that would be something similar to Cernunnos. So it wouldn't have given the area, it wouldn't have been the same, but some of the one of the symbols that was found was a very similar symbol, almost exactly the same position as him on the Gunda strip cauldron, when he's sitting sort of crossed, not like his ankles aren't crossed, but he has the torque in one hand and the snake in the other.
Yep. Cernios, Cernios. The green man, the horned one, the horny fucker.
So they have that image in a chapel?
Well, actually, it was a shrine that was on the same property. It was on the same plot of land.
Okay.
So, that was another shrine that they found during this archaeological whatever they were doing, and it's fascinating. And they restored the shrine. They created replicas, historical replicas that you can go see, and it was fascinating. And they once and they kind of left everyone kind of left each other alone. Like religions existed, like multi-religious communities existed simultaneously and in peace for a very long time.
It's possible.
There was you have to understand we're still people, and there will always be conflict, but maybe not always, but there always was a little bit of conflict. There was always some contention in different places, but it wasn't necessarily always violent. And I just think that, and again, I don't want to over romanticize the past. That is also not something we should be doing, because they had a lot of problems that were violent as well. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is that we shouldn't be, we should be getting better. We should be using what we learn and getting better, not getting worse. Right?
I just think that, like, if a medieval peasant was transported to this time, they'd be like, "You work how many hours a week? Like, you work."
Yeah.
You get how many holidays
and
celebrations?
I worked 107 hours in a week last year, and they're like, "What? I didn't even know there was that many hours in a week." I know, right. It's torture. It's truly torture.
We work more, and we get less holidays. We get less celebration,
and we have less food, and we have less space.
And we just have less and less and less, and yet it's masked under we have so much. We have so much. We have so much.
We do not
have so much.
We do not. Those who rule have excess.
And it doesn't.
I would also like to say something. All religions start humble. Every single one of them. But the problem with religions is they may be debased by any single person who can twist the word. So let's pretend Jesus was real, right? Let's pretend that he's a person who existed. Yes,
Scientology might be the only
Hubbard.
religion that did not start as humble, because he created that religion to make money. So
it's true. Yeah. I don't really consider that a religion, though. I consider it a Ponzi scheme. Like, come for me, bitches.
MLM disguised as religion.
Anyways, most religions start remarkably humble, but then when they see how much money can get accrued through the religion, that's when it starts becoming centralized. And that's why, Christianity in its origins was very much not evil, but the fucking Vatican sure was, and sure was the Holy Roman Empire, who wanted to co-opt all of the teachings that were going on at the time, right? And they were also colonizing the Middle East, therefore they wanted to co-opt a lot of the holy texts, right? So there's a lot of complication that goes on with this, because if you've read the Bible, like, a lot of it's like, my God is the God of the earth and the sky, and I need no temple to pray, that kind of shit, right? And it's like, damn, man, some of those, the Bible has some fucking bars, let's be real. But you get these people who can twist it, who can write in Vatican canon law, who can put in their own dogmas, back in the day, they wouldn't even translate it from fucking Latin to control who could even source what it meant, right? So
I remember
all of this is to say,
blowing Rue's mind with that fact. I was like, the printing press is really what started the splinter of the Catholic Church. Once we could read Bibles in our native languages, it was a game changer.
Exactly the same thing as what's happening with fracturing our society via the internet right now. From the average person having access to all of the information, you're going to see a fracturing and a restructuring of society, because it's had muchly the same effect. But this is to say that all religions tend to start off with very good origins and can be co-opted by basically anybody, but also that anybody who's practicing that religion may therein hold true to the original principle, right? So there are some absolute banger devout Catholics and Christians I've known who would literally take a bullet for their neighbor who they don't even like, but they love them like they would love themselves, and I've met these people, and I'm like, you carry the fucking torch for what I would consider Christianity to be. And just the same way that there's shitty dogmatic Christians, there's shitty dogmatic Buddhists. There's people who will use fucking Eastern mysticism to justify a permanent caste system in which you're a constant underclass, i.e. the untouchables, right? It doesn't matter. So sorry, go ahead.
No, Jason Miller talked about that too. He's like, a lot of the shyster mystics and the gurus and stuff that are from the Eastern traditions. He's like, they all have shysters and grifters, and
everybody
especially
does.
If they can break into that Western market.
They're no different.
Oh, we eat that shit up.
There's this guy who wrote a poem to his friend across the lake about how he had become so steady in his meditation that the 8 winds could not move him. And his friend wrote back a letter and he just wrote the word fart on it. And the guy got so fucking furious. He sailed across the lake to go to ask him what the meaning of this was. And the guy said, "You claim the 8 winds cannot move you, yet a single fart sends you across the lake."
That's fucking funny as shit.
Also, for something funny but also kind of depressing about the printing press and Protestantism and the Protestant philosophy of that changed Christianity. So,
Martin Luther sucked,
original Christianity believed in something called good works. And they believed that if you were a good person, you can make it into heaven. If you were kind to your neighbor, if you were good to people, that amongst anything else, more than even the belief in Christ or God, you would get into to paradise. Then Protestants came in, the Protestant philosophy of the church, they said, absolutely not. The only way you make it into heaven is your belief in Christ.
That's a dogma, though. That's got to
be a
dogma.
But they truly believed it, though. A Christian thinker came up with this idea that the only way you make it into paradise is if you believe in Christ. And it is dogmatic. It is, absolutely. But it unfortunately took over everything. Which is, a lot of Protestantism, because technically speaking, Protestantism and Catholicism don't believe the same, but it's funny because we were discussing this idea of how, you can actually see how much of the Catholic Church even started to become influenced by this Protestantism that came in. Now, keeping in mind the Catholic Church was not good at this time, that's not what I'm saying, but they were still doing really bad things, like burning people, but they did at least believe in something that would be useful to our modern logic of good works, right? We could support the idea of being a good person gets you into paradise. I can get behind that. With that, with the printing press thing, that comes along with the Protestant thing. There would be shyster monks, who would travel, and they would sell what essentially was a ticket into heaven. Man. They would sell this to poor people and say, you have this, and you will definitely get into heaven when you die.
Wow.
And it was literally, there was a name for them, I forget what they're called at this point, but essentially that's what they were. They were literally tickets to heaven. Now, keeping in mind that we're talking
one night
only. These were poor peasantry, whilst your bishops at this time, and someone can correct me on my history, but I don't even think we had the Pope yet when they did this, because originally the early church was run by bishops. There were 2 sets of bishops. There was the highest ones, in the particularly in Vatican, where the Vatican City is now, and then there was other bishops. They all
Cardinals.
Had names. And it was but they had
Cardinals came after,
Yeah, well, their position kind of got, it's complicated. There was 3, and they were there, and they became what the Cardinals are today. And then there was the priests, the everyday priests of small
Archbishop. Is that what you said, bro?
Yeah, I guess it was archbishop. Yeah, there was archbishops. I think there was more than one, and then there was bishops, and then there was priests. That had small churches and chaplets and things. But there would be these traveling monks who would go around and sell people tickets to heaven, and that's something they would genuinely do to get the poor people to give them money, and then it would go to the church so they can fund cathedral building.
They would just lie.
And other projects. It's lie. People, and the thing is I'm one of those people who's a sucker for a beautiful cathedral. But after that history class and what I know, I know that cathedrals are supposed to be, and it's almost contradictory, and it kind of irks me. One of the things about cathedrals historically was that they were supposed to represent God's influence on the creation of the earth that we live on, right? It's supposed to be this very naturalistic thing, but I'm why can't we just admire the mountains? You know what I mean? Why do you have to build this pillar, this grandiose? Now, I love the architecture.
You love architecture,
yeah. Gorgeous. But the thing is, knowing what I know about cathedrals and those weird tickets to heaven and the printing press and the early church, when the church became what I call a state religion, when they started using it to control the masses, which isn't what it was. It was a very mystical tradition. They were very magical and mystical in their way.
But now they're not. Now it's like,
but the thing is,
it's like a TED talk, and then you drop some money in the plate afterwards.
And it's rare to come by. I've said this to my mom multiple times. It's rare to come by a priest who can effectually do the Catholic rite. Yeah. I've sit through many mass to be like, you're just saying words and doing motions. And then there has been a total of 3 priests, only 2 that I've witnessed. One my mom swears by, and I believe her in this situation. I met the man, I just didn't see the priest. I met him personally, I just didn't see his sermon. But so 3 priests that I've ever known who had the ability to work the rite of mass, to actually have something happen in the room to like change the environment as they're doing the rite. That's only ever happened 3 times, and those men were oftentimes in South Philly. You have like weird closeness to the church due to like families of priests.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, you're Catholic. We're oddly Catholic for some reason.
Yeah, like you just kind of, it's complicated. But anyway, they're often like considered like the black sheep. They're almost too open-minded. They're too like, they're like, like I had one of them said if it was up to me, I'd marry every queer couple in Philly. He literally said he was getting his blood drawn. If it was up to me, I'd do it. But he couldn't.
Also, real quick, Rue, what flavor of Monster was that? I'm a Monster addict. You got to represent.
This is so funny story that if you caught, I don't even know how long ago it was a surprise Monster delivery from Ken in the middle of the podcast. This Rehab, this lemonade tea is my favorite.
That one's good.
I just got on the guava one recently.
Yes.
They made a new sugar-free one. It's guava. I'm like, fucking it up. I've been like living off strawberry dream for a hot minute, but like I'm fucking crushing the guavas lately. Anyways, back to our regulars. Monster, sponsor us, please.
I was gonna say, I was like, I should really reach out to Monster, because I can't tell you how many times there is a Monster viewed on this podcast.
I drink a Monster a goddamn day. I swear to God, it's not good for me, but I still fucking do it. I had an orange sunrise one this morning.
Oh, that one's good. If you see any cool sugar-free flavors, let me know, because
sugar-free Monster is all I fuck with, man. It's all I fuck with. And right now, the peak flavor on it is guava and strawberry dream. Anyways, back to the mysticism.
But yeah, I don't like state religions, like the Roman religion and Shintoism and Catholicism. I don't,
because they're often just forms of control.
Yeah, that's what they become. I had the opportunity,
and I don't want paganism to become that. I don't want
it won't. It's too secularized and fractured. What would happen though is if the occult did become something like that, it would probably become something that's a lot more mainstream, like this Theosophical Society. Maybe society would turn largely theosophical. Like I could see that happening because they've been writing shit for 5 ever, and people are pretty into that. But
I don't know.
It depends.
It made me
honestly,
think of the Unfortunate for some reason. Something happened.
Look, man,
she's an interesting lady.
I read this shit, the more that I read this shit and I get through like the secret teachings of all ages, I'm like actually considering buying the Bible on audiobook. And I looked it up. I'm like, how long is the Bible on audiobook? And I shit y'all not, it's fucking 75 to 82 hours, depending on which version you pick. And pardon?
I was like, that's a work week.
Yeah. But also, you can play it while you're doing stuff. And the secret teaching of all ages, 32 hours. So I'm like, wait a minute. So the Bible's only a little over twice as long as the secret teachings of all ages. I might be able to do that via audiobook and pull all the information out of it that I want, because I've gotten to the point where I'll read anything almost. Yeah, Good News Bible, right? But like people act like witches will not read this shit, but we do. Go ahead, sorry.
It's the study version, so it's all in plain English. It's just plain English. Cool. You can read it. It's super easy. There's no thous and thou arts, and It's all plain modern
I do love
English.
me a good thou thee.
I was
I
going to
like
say,
thee,
as a
thou, them.
Catholic, I
I don't.
prostrate myself before the thou.
I know, me too. I am, but like, like sometimes when I'm over here trying to like pray to my ancestors and give them offerings, prayers, stuff like that, I'm tired. Like
Yeah.
you'll get like a salah out of me, like
Oh man.
But yeah, like knowledge is knowledge. I read The Secret Teachings of Abramelin the Mage, which is like from fucking 600
That's dense.
AD, and that book is like it's big as fuck. It's old ass English, and like it's super bigoted. It's like women cannot perform the
Yeah.
miracles of God, and I'm like, LOL, okay. And you
You
don't
skip
throw
it
out the baby
over.
with the bathwater,
Yeah.
right? Or
Right.
like for example, I was realizing a lot of people have been like conflating Blavatsky with like Nazism because people considered her the grandmother of like Nazi ideology because she talked about like the Great White Brotherhood, and that was often
Yeah.
misconstrued. But like also we talk about the Black Lodge all the fucking time, and that's a term taken straight from her as well, right? So like you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. She was from the fucking 1800s in Ukraine, right? She did not have the intent to cause what did happen from people taking her words to create Nazism out of it, right? And
Yeah.
on the left, we do have this predisposition to try and throw anything out that has become tainted with it, right? So that's why, like, the pagans fought so hard against Nazi appropriating the runes because they're like, "You shall not have our fucking culture. We will kill you before we will let you have this," right?
Yeah.
And
And yet.
I kind of fuck with that because, like, we do have to really disentangle, like, also, like, I haven't read her works yet, but like just listening to other people who've read it, she's very like in your face and trying to be shocking about it. She's like, actually, Lucifer's the good one, and like Atlantis, and Lemuria, and like
What,
you
Blavatsky?
would not believe how much, yeah, you would not believe how much of Blavatsky's shit you've heard without even knowing the name Helena Blavatsky, because you've heard shit about Lemuria, you've heard shit about Atlantis, you've heard shit about the Black
Yeah.
Lodge, right? Like all of this shit is from her books, like way back in the day. So like it's not that she's like the grandmother of all of this, but she's a lady who studied this stuff in the 1800s, who did what white people tend to do, which is where they put a bunch of stuff together and try and make a theory of everything or a model of everything or a syncretic view,
A
if that's what you want
one-stop
to call it.
shop for your
And
philosophical
it doesn't
needs.
really work that well, but it also does help to try and gather up as much mystical knowledge as you can to peruse through all of it to arrive at your own destination. And this is what chaos magic was supposed to be doing. Actually, chaos magic is not supposed to be chaos. It's supposed to be said like cows, like chaos, like the original primordial essence of the universe, with which the gods and the titans themselves unfurled from, right? It's not about fucking chaos, and I could preach that until I die, but it's the exact same shit, right? We're just trying very deliberately to not be syncretic about it and not try to devalue all of these other religions in the same way that New Age has done by reducing them to artifacts and putting them into like a Western worldview and like directly taking other cultures out of context, right? So like in part, it's really enlightening to listen to Secret Teaching of All Ages because you can see how like Jesus is a retelling of all of these different stories of the dying God who's been reborn, like fucking Dionysus Zagreus, like the sun god Ra in Egypt. Like there's so many other different tellings of this story that has been appropriated, right? And like you also understand though, as somebody who's come from like one of those more minute cultures out of that, you can see when they're taking something from your culture that they don't fully understand, right? It's like when like people talk about like, let's say, African culture out of context, if you're not from that group or that tribe, there's going to be a very real lived experience of a lot of this shit that people will actually think is a metaphor when sometimes it's just fucking not, right? And like I'm trying to talk around what experiences I have culturally because I don't want to put anything on here like that. But like, there's shit that's very real, and there's shit that's meant to be metaphors. And if you're not from that culture, you're not going to fucking understand the discretions between them, right?
It's not
And
really
that's why
linked.
syncretic views often fail.
Yeah, like it's not really linked. Like I kind of know what you're saying because it's like Wicca is not linked to a particular culture of people. Like I guess it derives from Celtic, whatever. But like the idea of the maiden mother crone or the birth death cycle rebirth cycle of the god, like he is lover. Like people view it as incestuous, basically, and it's like it's not meant to be literal. It's very metaphorical. It's a symbol of birth, death, rebirth, life, all that kind of stuff. But people really like to harp on that, and sometimes I wonder if that's just like intelligence levels. Sometimes because we've talked about this
who
too.
knows?
Like some people don't understand nuance, and we talk about that too. Like nuance and metaphor, and a lot of this, a lot of our religions, a lot of our philosophical traditions are rooted in nuance and metaphor. Like it's symbolic. And I think what has given rise perhaps to this Christian nationalism is they can't wrap their heads around those big concepts. And so they're just like, no, this is bad. I'm gonna do bad things because I'm a good person. Go to heaven. Okay. Like, and
Real talk,
yeah, I think that might be
I
part
don't
of it.
think they've wrapped their heads around it. I think that they're just going with the status quo because they don't understand. It's very emblematic of a child following a parent, not knowing why the parent does something, and the
Yeah.
parent acting in an abusive way towards the child, and the child thinking that's how people just act to other people, then growing up to impart the same behavior, right?
Right.
The people running the church and those organizations themselves don't even know why they're doing it anymore because of these hucksters and these shysters who have co-opted these things for their own personal power structures, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, again, one of the greatest forms of debasement of religion is either A, proselytization, which I fucking hate,
Yeah,
because you have no right to tell anybody else what they should believe. In fact, next person to proselytize on me at the street is going to catch a fucking sermon from me because I actually read the fucking Bible, and I am going to tell them, do you think you are greater than the Lord that you claim is yours, who in the Bible said that he is the one to judge? Who are you to place yourself on the throne of the judger to cast judgment on people on the street like this? You sling the first stone with every word you speak, and you should repent. And I will give them that shit, man, because it's true. You don't have any right to force your beliefs onto other people, the same way that we don't have the right to take freedom from other people, but we do it all the time. And stealing like mystical knowledge that's meant to enlighten people and using it to ensnare society and enrich yourself is one of the most deep and perverse forms of evil, and you will be fucking punished for it as much as you need, because justice is real, whether it's through reincarnation, whether it's through hell. I don't know, I'm not dead right now, so
real
I can't
justice,
say, right?
and that's the
but
thing
there
is,
but there is actual justice.
Yeah, there is real justice because like everything you're doing to us, all this evil that you're doing, it's coming back to you. It's gonna happen, and it may not even be like I'm
like
not
a fire,
even saying
bitch.
like I don't have a fucking plan. I don't know, but the universe will sort you out. I guarantee that, and it will be beautiful.
I really hope that like I've always been like I've really liked the idea that the afterlife is sort of like how you've always perceived it in your own life, the life
I
that you've
think
always
that's
lived.
how it is.
And I
There's actually a lot of shit about that, yeah.
I really like that because you're whether you like it only matters that that's how you see it. Like if you acknowledge a process of like punishment and in paradise and all that, you're still subjected to that system. So therefore, when they get there, I love the idea that they're just gonna burn in a hell that they told everybody else they're gonna burn in.
Yeah.
And it makes me really
Real
happy
talk?
to know that, like, or to feel anyway, to hope that that's
Yeah.
So I had an astral projection event or an out-of-body experience when I was younger, and I was Catholic still at the time. I don't know if I've told this on the podcast, but I asked to see heaven and hell. And when I saw heaven, I looked up in the sky and I didn't see heaven. I saw exactly what I imagined is heaven. And that made me realize, oh shit, what happens after this is what we really work ourselves up into believing happens. And I asked to see hell, and I looked out the window and I saw how other people were treating each other. The metaphor was people running on treadmills while somebody whipped their backs, and like the sky was red and everything was horrible. But it was like, oh, hell is a way that we treat each other and choose to live our lives. And that was the whole fucking experience that made me stop being Catholic when I was a kid. Because I realized that what the religion was doing was priming me to believe in a certain thing, therefore creating it. And that hell was actually occurring in front of us, and that we needed to confront it and stop it from happening. Because it does not need to.
Yeah. So we're coming up on an hour and a half. I wanted to pop in on the chat real quick. So, Brian said, Scott is my favorite. Aw, love. You're our favorite. Don't let anyone else hear that now. No, Brian, you're one of our oldest listeners, and we appreciate you still being here, still hanging out with us.
The oldest.
Yeah.
I don't know of any listener who's been here longer than Ted or Brian.
Yeah, like that's been hanging around. Dawn was saying, Wicca is very much taken from Celtic and Nordic beliefs. It's interesting seeing a case of white people appropriating themselves. Yeah, it is quite interesting. It's interesting, like seeing like, yeah, that is kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's right. Like, and I really try to get people to understand initiatory Wicca versus sort of this outer court popular Wicca that kind of everyone does.
Yeah.
And I try to get them to really understand, like from the traditional witchcraft part of my practice, like the whole like the use of a stang and that stuff. Like traditional initiatory Wicca does that as well. Like the differences and the contrast between traditional Wicca, initiatory Wicca, and traditional witchcraft. We're sister traditions. It like you can't deny it. I don't deny it. Traditional witchcraft as it is. There's a couple. It's lineaged. You have Robert Cochrane, you have Cecil Williamson, you have Sybil Leek. You have a couple of really important people with some really important names. But traditional craft, contrary to its name, is still newer than you would think. It just bases itself a little less on ceremonial high magic. Whereas initiatory Wicca really enjoyed like the OTO and other ceremonial grimoire tradition systems in a way that we in traditional witchcraft didn't. But the thing is like it's unfortunate what has become of like outer court Wicca. Today and in recent today as if it's new in years past years.
Dawn was also saying it's a colonial act to treat our own culture as old and dead, and I like that. That kind of been chewing on that for a minute now. Yeah, it is
Don saying smart shit in chat.
Yeah.
I've told you before about that interaction I had with the Irishman. I was on a really cool historical Facebook page that was academic, and it was from a museum in Ireland, and they were cataloging folklore and folk magic, and I thought it was really fun, and I was like, oh, this is really fascinating to see like bits of folk magic, and he got really mad, and he was like, we don't have folk magic here in Ireland. Maybe you do where you're from, but we don't have that. And that is just historically false. And then he started talking about like a historian, and this is true. There was a historian many moons ago who claimed that folk magic kind of isn't real. And the reason why this particular man claimed that is because this historian claimed that is because he thought that folk magic was barbaric. He thought the idea of it made the culture look stupid and primitive. And instead of seeing it as like wisdom tradition, instead of seeing it as somehow applicable, as somehow important to the culture, he saw it as an insult. And a lot of that can still be found even with like the English and with the English, like they hate talking about like the English cunning tradition. And the English fairy faith and things like that, like it's completely been muddled out or as best as they possibly can. Similar, unfortunately, and this is unfortunate because of was Calvinism in Scotland and the Scottish witch hunts were really brutal, and a lot of the Scottish fairy faith, a lot of the like later lore, sort of after the trials in Scotland, are now all about like how fairies are evil, but at one time the Scottish fairy faith was very prevalent, right? I had another instance with a practitioner who from Scotland who got really mad at me for saying something, although historically true. I had said that Beltane is a great day to make relationships with the fair folk, and it is, and how the relationship between the witch, the cunning person, the peller, whatever, how our relationship with the fair folk is one that cannot be separated. And I also said that the only people in the ancient world who were fearful of fair folk were people who didn't practice magic. Now, of course, I was specifically talking about Europe. I wasn't talking about anywhere else, but
the
she got
world
really
at large.
frustrated with me.
Yeah.
She got really frustrated about it, and was really aggressive. I didn't engage because she was being way too aggressive, and but the problem is like there's this thing where so like the person commenting, what's their name again? I'm so sorry.
Dawn.
Dawn. Kind of like what Dawn was saying, there's this like rejection, even to some practitioners of sort of earlier, like pre sort of Christianized influence, even on the cunning tradition. So you still see it even there. So like whether it's atheist, whether it's just pure Christian, or even certain cunning tradition today, there's still this sort of fear-based religion or spirituality, and like, you know, very much in contradiction to paganism and witchcraft and sorcery that's come from sort of pre-Christianized spaces, which is very much not fear-based. Right, we don't like, you know, we don't have this fearful relationship with our gods that you see today. That, you know, they didn't, you know what I mean. That comes in from the influence of Christianity. This sort of like, oh, the gods are gonna, you know, whatever. The gods don't do that. That's not the way. Like what you think. You're making a comparison that's really loose. You know what I mean? You talk about the gods being angry, but they didn't like get mad at you because you forgot to change the water on their altar. You know what I mean? Like that's not a thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, I hope my little
Oh, makes sense.
You're good.
But
Yeah,
we are coming up on time. So any concluding thoughts for today?
Just try to be a good person and work on yourself. If your change is gonna look messy and imperfect, and we're all growing, and infighting is gonna happen because we've never done a full societal revolution before. So it's gonna be difficult. We will get there. This is just growing pains, and don't give up faith on yourself or in your fellow human beings, because the vast majority of us want to have a utopia together where we don't have to struggle and nobody ever has to go hungry ever again. And I believe in it, and I know we can have it. And I refuse to believe in any other world for our future, and I will die to see it happen. That's my concluding thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Co-signed.
And also
co-signed
on the yes. Alrighty.
Sick! Fucked it up.
All right. So thank you to Sage, Brian, Dawn, and Kai. I think that is everyone. Yep. So thank you all for hanging out with us today.
What's our weekly Hail Satan?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So yes, you can support us on Ko-fi. The $6.66 a month tier is our Hail Satan tier, and basically, hail whatever you want to do. Give a shout out to something. So Tink is a subscriber on that tier, and Tink wants us to remember Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free motherfucking Palestine. Stop the genocide. They still doing it.
Fuck genocide. All right, everyone.
Fuck genocide. Fuck colonialization. Fuck evil. Fuck hatred. Bring utopia for everyone ever, especially all the chillins. All the chillins need utopia.
Yes, radical utopia. All right, everyone. We will see you in the next one, and take care of yourselves. Bye, everyone.
We fucking love